Hey guys, Tiffany here. Welcome back to my channel. Today is a little bit different. Some people have been emailing me asking me about travel restrictions to Greece and what all that entails. And so that has been updated, not weekly for the travel updates, but some of the restriction updates have been having weekly. So what I wanted to do, as we're sort of hopefully getting closer to this, we may be able to travel, over the summer. I want to update you, a couple of times. I don't think I'll do it every week because the travel restrictions aren't really changing that much. The restrictions in Greece are, so I'll give you a small update on that in case you are coming. And then when significant changes happen, I'll come on and make another video so you guys are informed. Right now, you can't really come to Greece for tourism. And nothing's open at the moment. We're in a really strict lockdown, so even though there are some countries that can come, there really isn't a lot to do, so you probably are only coming if you're coming for work or if you need to help a family member with some sort of health emergency, or if you need to get medical treatment, so those kinds of things. Usually people from other EU countries are allowed in, like the citizens. People with residence permits can come to Greece. However, if you're in an EU country and you were there and you've been stuck there and you haven't left, but say you're American, you're not going to be able to come to Greece. They are being pretty strict about checking residence permits. When I flew back from the US in December, I had to show it both in the US and in the UK on my layover. So some places are letting people who have been in countries for like 14 days and then have a negative test to come, but not Greece. At least not that I've been made aware. So that's the other thing. You will need to have a negative PCR test within 72 hours of landing in Greece. There is also a passenger locator form that you will have to fill out. I will put the link to those things down below in the description box so you don't have to search around for them. Other countries that are allowed to come to Greece, and this list is Greece's list. This is not a list of, oh, my country will allow me, because some of the countries on this list are not allowing people to leave. Australia is a big example. So Australia, New Zealand, Rwanda, Israel, Japan, South Korea, Russia, Singapore, Thailand, the UAE. And I thought the UK had been removed from this list, but my research this morning says they are still on the list. So, but double check that, because that may have changed. And I know that the UK is another country that really doesn't want their citizens leaving. And I know they're being really strict about those sorts of things at the airports. The other thing you will have to do when you come is you have to self-isolate for 7 days. And if you're coming from the UK, you have to take another PCR test at the end of those 7 days to make sure that you're still negative. Now, the restrictions in Greece, this is where it gets complicated. So if you're coming here and say you land in Athens and that's your final destination, you can't then leave and go somewhere else in Greece. Travel between regions is restricted. It's not allowed unless you're going to your permanent place of residence, medical treatment, or if you have to go like to a funeral or help a family member. And they're being pretty strict about that. Like, people have told me that they are checking people on the ferries and at the airports. Greece has gotten a little bit complicated because they've made these yellow zones and red zones, and some red zones have more restrictions than others. I'm not going to go into all the nitty-gritty details because this video would probably be very long. So I'll give you what we have here in Athens, and then I'll kind of generally explain the differences between red and yellow, and then I will put the link to a resource that will show you more if you need to know more in the description box. So here in Athens, just yesterday, they announced that on the weekends our curfew would be from 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. and shops are not allowed to be open on the weekends unless it's an essential store, like grocery stores, pharmacies. I think like bakeries are included in that, but that's pretty much it. And then, so like what had been open, like retail shops had been open for click and collect, which where you could order online and then go pick it up. And some stores you could go and make an appointment to shop. That's all been canceled for during the week, during the weekend. and we have to be home by 6 p.m., which kind of stinks, but at least it's just the weekend because they had talked about doing it during the week too. So during the week, the curfew goes back to being 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. and shops are allowed to be open again. But again, we have now gone to click and collect only in the red zones. Now, some red zones have more restrictions and their curfew starts at 6 p.m. every day. So then yellow zones, their curfew is just 9 to 5 a.m. and you can do more click and like make an appointment shopping, and they don't have to close those stores on the weekends. So I know some of you are probably asking me, why this strange curfew on the weekends in the red zones and not during the week? Part of it is because they figured out that if they made the the curfew at 6 p.m. during the week, everybody who is still not working from home would then be getting on the public transportation all at the same time. And that could lead to an issue with like spreading the virus because the public transportation system is too crowded. The other thing is these restrictions on the red zones are supposed to only be till February 15th, which is unusual because unlike in the spring where we had more like concrete deadlines of when lockdown was going to end, and even though they kept extending them, we had a date. We haven't had a date for restrictions to end here in this second lockdown. So this is interesting. I think they're really trying to kind of do what they've done in other countries, like a circuit breaker, where they're like putting more restrictions in so that hopefully it stops the spread. And I think the reasoning too is that a lot of the variants have made their way here, so they're trying to stop the spread of those variants in this 10-day like stricter lockdown. I will say that a few popular places to come to Greece are in the most strict, where the curfew is at 6 p.m., and that is Santorini and Mykonos, and there are a few other cities as well. So now is not the time to come to Santorini or Mykonos because it's, for whatever reason, I haven't really been in the know to figure out why they're having such, a problem there. I will say that most of the cases are here in Athens. I think half of the cases yesterday were here. Now, granted, Athens has the biggest population in the whole country, so that has a lot to do with it, and that's part of the reason our restrictions, even though we're in the red zone, aren't as strict, because they realize the population size is reasonable, kind of reasonable compared to the number. So the government is really trying to strike a balance between keeping the population safe, but really allowing the economy to open up, because so many things have been closed since November. It's really hard. Restaurants are still not allowed to have people in, like, eat in, or you can only delivery or takeaway. And a lot of restaurants I know just aren't doing any of that. So it's difficult. I will say that unlike in the spring lockdown, if you're coming here for, certain reasons, the hotels are not closed. In the spring, there were only like 1 or 2 hotels in each area that were allowed to be open, but in this other lockdown that hasn't been the case. Some hotels have chosen to close. I'm not sure if that's the right word. So even though they're allowed to be open, they may not be. Obviously the seasonal hotels are probably not open anyway, because they don't normally open until like late April, early May. So, okay guys, let me know if this is helpful in the comments, because I don't want to keep doing these if you're really interested. But I do want to put it out there in case it does. This will be in addition to my usual video on Wednesdays. Don't worry, those aren't going away. And then we'll see when I do the next one. I don't think I'll do it every week, but I will try to do it again, like I said, when there are major updates. All right, guys, I'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great weekend.